Cheers to the crowd. Yeah, toast up to the most.
Hey!
Hey, what's up? This is
Welcome back to
Crown Jewels.
Crown Jewels.
This is like Crown Jewels, the remix.
yeah. So none of you know this, but this is actually our take 2. We are trying to record video for the podcast.
Integrate a little video.
You know.
It's
So
2020.
It's 2020. So if you are watching on video, welcome back and thank you for watching Crown Jewels. So we have a really interesting topic.
Yeah, I'm
today.
excited about this topic. I was like, man, we're going to end up having to make 2 episodes about it. But I think we did the right thing in having just this one episode all about this topic. Because, usually we kind of split it up.
Yeah, I agree. But I think we have a lot to say about this topic. So the topic is healing.
Healing.
And this came up for me because I am in a group with a lot of grown people and most of them are actually single. So a lot of relationship topics come up. And so in the group, they were talking about healing and what happens when you're in a relationship with someone who hasn't healed, if you need to heal before you get into a relationship. So I wanted to talk to you about that because I had a lot to say about healing.
Yeah.
And wanted to bring you into it.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah.
I think I want to start, we'll start by defining healing, right?
Yes.
And listening to my favorite, Esther Perel, she kind of summed it up as getting back to a place where you're fully enjoying life again.
Oh, wow.
Where you're present, you're fully engaged again, almost to regulate, but not necessarily regulate, but to get you back into a place where you're just enjoying the things and you're not focused on wherever the trauma or the pain is.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good definition.
I like that. I love Esther Perel.
She's genius.
She's one of our faves. And I feel like she actually helped us heal a lot
Oh,
in the
yeah.
beginning of our relationship.
Gave us a lot of tools to
Yeah.
heal. It was really cool to listen to her episodes and listen to other people's issues. And even though they didn't mirror
Yes.
our issues, the tactics that she would use to kind of bring them in, she would use kind of the same
Yes.
ones over and over again. And she would
Yeah.
put them in their place. And you'll feel that because sometimes you relate to
Yeah.
what the person's saying or how they're feeling, or you're like, oh snap. And then she'll put them in place and you end up like, yo, I gotta get myself together.
And I feel like when we were listening to it before, we didn't have issues yet. Like
Right.
we were so new, we didn't. Well, we might have had a little bit. I'll touch on what we were going through, but like we didn't really have issues yet. So it was really nice to like listen to her do couples therapy with couples who had like these deep issues.
Yeah.
Also, say hi to Nola.
Yeah, well, what's up?
Come on, Nola, because we are not keeping her out of the shot. There's no way. But yeah, it was really interesting listening to those couples who had these really deep-seated issues that had manifested over like sometimes decades.
Yes.
So we learned a lot from that. I'm sorry, I took us on a tangent.
But I think it was important to cite,
Yeah.
though, and give some credence to how good Esther Perel is.
Yeah.
Because everybody should go and check her podcast out. Yeah.
She's the best.
So good. So, so is that a good definition? So we can agree that healing in our conversation is going to be defined as getting back to a place where you can be present and enjoy life and not focus on the trauma.
Yes, I can agree to that, but I also want to add to that because I thought of like my definition of healing.
Yeah.
And when I thought about it, it really took me back to when I was in therapy. And I've talked about this before, where the necklace metaphor that my therapist had given me. And so when I think about healing, I think about accepting that the trauma happened, accepting that there is no going back to before the trauma happened.
So good, yeah.
Right? And being able to focus forward. The moment you're able to like pivot from the pain to the future.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like you are healing because when I was thinking about it too, I also thought like, I think healing is a state of becoming and not necessarily end point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I
You're just
agree
in a
fully.
state of healing.
I think you'll always be in a state of healing
Yeah.
because things will not always go your way. And
Yes.
I love that. I think it starts with acknowledging what's going on, and then accepting,
Yeah.
and then, like you said, moving forward. So I like that a lot. And for me to say that acknowledgement is important for healing is big for me because people don't know that early in our relationship,
Yep.
acknowledgement was big for you. I come from a world where it wasn't. You actually just kind of sweep it to the side and
move
keep
on.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did not understand the importance of acknowledgement. And it took me going to therapy and her saying it back and forth in your voice in my head too,
Yeah.
like the tag team. It kind of, it got through to me. And I think I had to have the experience of healing via acknowledging something. And even now, like it's still not second nature to me.
Yeah.
Like it's still work to do that. And the last time I was in therapy, I was like, why do we even want to bring
Why
up
do I
and
have to
acknowledge
acknowledge
this?
it?
It's like because we learned that when we acknowledge things, they
Yes.
heal. And we did this exercise. So yeah, thank you. Okay, let's talk about it.
Well, I love that you brought up that you learned from me to acknowledge the thing because I learned the next step from you. I am learning the next step from you, which is to move forward. Because I come from a family where we easily can acknowledge the trauma. We will talk about the trauma over and over. And we can, I won't even say we, because I don't want to speak for my family, but
Good.
I had learned to like stew in the acknowledgement, like just acknowledge, like every chance, kind of like bring myself back there. And what you have helped me with is the moving forward, the
even
stepping out of it.
I do a little fast sometimes, but
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that though. But yeah.
Yeah, that helps a lot though, and I think that we balanced each other out, which brings me to my next point. What? Actually, no. I'm gonna hold off on this topic. I'm gonna move to this topic later. Here's what my next topic will be. Do you need to fully heal before you enter into a relationship? And is fully healing a thing? You already know, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
I don't think that it's a thing.
Right.
But do you think that before you get into a relationship, you need to fully heal or heal to some extent?
I think so. I guess we got to qualify the relationship, but there are relationships that get deep enough where you do have to return back to a place of enjoying life. You do have to acknowledge whatever it was that happened, the real thing that happened in the relationship too, not just your side of it. But you have to really say, this is what happened in this relationship. This is why it didn't work. This is what I learned from it. And I think you don't have to fully heal from that. But if you at least have that knowledge, I think you can definitely go into the next relationship better equipped for success, because you might not have the answer. You might not be all the way through it, but you don't want to push off a good thing just because you haven't gotten there. And it's great practice, right? Because I'm going to stop actually, because I don't want to bleed too much into the next thing. So I guess I want to get your take on it before we go kind of into
before we go to the next thing, that's fair. Do I think you need to be fully healed before you get into a new relationship? No. I don't. I think you have to at least have passed the acknowledge stage. Because I think that in a relationship, you have to be able to understand what your triggers are. And if you haven't even identified those, you're already fucked.
Yep.
So you have to at least got that part over. And I think before you're in a relationship, you need to be healing.
Healing, yes.
You need to be healing and past the acknowledged stage. And then once you're there, then I think you're in a place, and we'll talk about the next topic so we don't have to hold back. Then I think you're in a place where you can partner in your healing with someone else. Yeah. But that's easier said than done, because I feel like there are a few conditions that have to be met. You have to be with a partner who is also healing, first of all.
Interesting, okay.
And I think you have to be with a partner who is willing to be a part of your healing.
I agree.
Because there are some people who I really just don't want to sign up for that work.
Yeah.
And I think if you are in that place, you have to find someone who can meet you there, who's ready to like help you heal.
Yeah. So what you said is actually what I was trying not to say earlier, was you got to be with somebody who's willing to help you heal and is going to be okay with that.
Yes.
And it's really important to put these things on the glass or put them out up front, because another thing I learned from Esther Perel is we play different roles for each other, and these are roles that we never signed up for, because a lot of times we don't even tell the other person that they're playing that role for us. And if you're going into a relationship looking for somebody to heal with and to grow into one and all that, you need to put that out up front and let people know, because somebody, like you said, might not be in that place in their life. Now, I don't know if I think they have to be healing as well, but if we look at healing the way we talked about it earlier, it's a constant process. Yeah. So I think maybe that should be a prerequisite, because if they're not healing, something's going on where, are you stagnant? Are you just, you have an ego so big that you believe that there's nothing going on? And maybe you need a better understanding of healing and what healing is, and maybe what you need to be healing from. So I think it's important to be able to heal together. Yeah. Because you grow into one. So being able to heal in relation to you is what helps us be successful. Because if I would just went out on this tangent and I was just healing myself and it just all be myself, and it is not in relation to my marriage or in context of having a family, then I think it would be wrong. It would feel wrong. It would feel bad. It would change things in a way that we are not trying to have those things change.
So I feel like I want to ask you to clarify what you mean. Like, what does it mean to heal with your family or your role in relation to me in mind? Like, what does that mean for you?
So, like, for me in particular, there are traumas that I have in my past that will get triggered in our relationship. Right. And I have to learn how to navigate not just my traumas, but yours as well. And so the knowledge of your specific things that are going on is going to be able to help me, mirror. I can mirror and say, I did this for myself. I can do this for you. Yeah. And I see myself in you. I see where I have these traumatic moments. Yeah. And I know how confused I can be in those moments. I just know where I am and how clouded and skewed. And so if you're in a similar place, I have to look at it like that and not look at it as somebody's bitching at me or somebody is just or somebody, because that's how a lot of men view it, and that is a thing. A lot of men will view a person literally calling out for help in a moment as them being scolded. And that's another example of like my traumas in relation to yours, right? Yes. Because that for me, it triggers a response of, oh, I'm not doing something right. Oh, I need to fix. This is wrong. It's because I love the marriage. Like I want to make it work, and I want everything to be in my control, and I want to be like the whole reason. You have a history
of being a fixer and a caretaker.
Oh yeah,
and that's where you feel most valued. And so what that bumps up against is my need to just feel heard. So a lot of times I'll be coming, you already know this, so this is really for
this
y'all.
is great though. Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll be coming to you and I just want to be heard and acknowledged, because again, I'm like all about the acknowledgement. And for you, you'll go into fix it mode. And so what I'm experiencing in that moment is I want to be heard right now. You're not hearing me. You're all about fixing, and we haven't even paused here.
Yeah.
And then what you seem to be experiencing is like, I just want to fix. Why do we have to be stuck here? What are we here for? We could just move to the
Because I'm already there. Like as soon as you're telling me something's
Yes.
going on, and I needed to even hear my therapist say,
Yeah.
like, you guys got to take care of each other when it comes to your back and forth situations. So one, make sure you're taking care of each other in those moments. And two, if what needs to happen is you stop and acknowledge what's going on and give her the space that she's asking for, especially because she just came to you with a thing. Give her the space that she's asking for before you just take over all the energy and make everything like about you.
That helped a lot. That helped a lot.
And it's still not second nature. Like it's still something that I have to deal with and work through. Healing. Yeah, not healed, but healing. And I think that's important. And it's important that you're patient with me in those moments, and that you're able to see little progress here and there, like all of that, and acknowledge it the way you do. You're amazing at that, but all of that plays into each other, and
Right. I think that all of that is the key to partnering and healing. So like just to like extract a few things from that. What we're talking about is understanding each other's journey to healing and incorporating that into our own experience with healing. And it's hard. It's almost hard to put it in words, babe, because it really is like a dance, a practice.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's really important. And even that practice of like having to say to you, like, here's what this is reminding me of, and here's why my reaction to this is so strong. Because it's typically not actually about you when you're dealing with another person. That person has all this other stuff in their mind, all this experience, all this past trauma, all these cycles that they are working through. And understanding that, I feel like, is a key.
That is such a great and beautiful skill. And that's something that I'm working on now. And it's such a good way to view other human beings, because you're now viewing them as a human being, and you're equating them to yourself. And so all the complex thoughts and emotions that you have going on in your head at any given moment, a person right across from you could have 10x that, they could have half that. Their perspective is their perspective, their journey is their journey, and you got to respect it. So when you guys become one, it is really important to take their journey into account. And that's like my new thing, is trying to literally put myself in your shoes. I literally place myself there. And if I can't get it from your perspective, I'll try to get as close as I can. I'll try to get as close as I can. And then I'll try to trace back what's going on, because like you said, it's a dance, it's a practice, right? So we get a little bit better each time.
We
at
do.
least I hope, you know what I mean? At least other people
the
too.
Last time we had like tension between us, I feel like we made a very big step. We paused much longer on acknowledgement than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that practice.
Yeah.
So I learned she moves to the left and she moves to the right here.
Yeah.
And now I need to be here to catch her in that moment and not let her go, because the reason the last time I let her go and I dropped her in the middle of this dang dance. So, and she this is the move that she makes. So I have to adjust here and catch her now, and not push or get mad because you didn't make the move that I want you to make in the moment. Like it's gotta be, it's a dance, and we're both creating.
And I feel like that helps even in individual healing. So this is a little bit of a pivot. But so when I was thinking about healing, I thought about the difference between the healing that you may do by yourself or with a therapist versus the healing that you do in the real actual world.
Oh, man, thank you, babe.
It's different.
Yep.
With a therapist, I feel like there are different realms of healing, right? You have inner healing, and I feel like a therapist is great for that, for you to really acknowledge what happens with yourself. And then there's relational healing, which I feel like a therapist can help with to some extent because they are another person. But I feel like when it comes to relational healing or like healing in relation to other people, a romantic relationship is the most beautiful space to do that. And so it made me think about like my career, what I do in my work. So I do change management, which is like helping people at large corporations deal with these humongous changes. And something that's included in that is training. And in healing, there's so much training that happens.
Yeah. Yep.
And in training, we say like you have to tell someone, show someone, and then they have to do it. And I feel like therapy with a therapist is telling and a little bit of showing. And then when you get into a relationship and you are healing together, that's the doing.
Yeah.
And when people do things, they are like, I'm pulling this number out of my ass, but I think that it's like 80% more likely to learn the thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
So you read my mind. You absolutely read my mind, because healing in real time is something that I was wishing I could get my therapy session in before this this episode, because healing in real time was where I ended up seeing like there was the weak space the last time that we had tension between us, and like I was able to be strong in another area, but when it came to healing myself in real time, I wasn't doing it. I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And I think I wanted to go to therapy and like ask for techniques or like ask for something that I could do. But as I started thinking about this episode, it like gave me some of that, because like the first thing was acknowledgement, right? And it's like acknowledging exactly what's happening and then accepting it, because, and this will go back to Esther Perel, what happens in a lot of those moments is you can acknowledge what happens and then there's shame there. And you'll sit in the shame instead of accepting and moving forward. And what Esther Perel said was you should turn that shame into guilt. And you should just own it, because the shame is within. It's like you're retreating. But for you to accept the guilt, that's conscious. That's something that you can take, own, and control and run with. And so take that guilt now, instead of just saying, I'm so ashamed of this thing and wallowing in the shame. I own this thing. I did this thing to you. I'm really, really sorry that I did this thing, and this is why I did this thing. And
That's so interesting.
I can, but that sucks, right? Because in a moment you don't want to do that. Sometimes you just want to win the damn argument, or sometimes you just don't want to give up, right? Or sometimes you don't want to be guilty. You're like, who wants to be guilty?
What does guilty mean in this sense? Is when she says guilty, does she mean like taking fault or the emotion?
I think it's taking the ownership of what you did in that moment.
Yeah.
Taking ownership.
That makes sense. Because when you said guilty, I wasn't feeling that, because I feel like guilty is such like a self-pitying emotion. But I get what you mean. Like
it's
accepting
shame.
The fault.
It's shame that is the self, that is that emotion, that self-defeating emotion. But guilt and owning it is saying, "Yep, I'm guilty. I did the thing," and that's why I'm ashamed over here. I'm ashamed because I'm guilty as hell over here.
I never would have thought about that.
Me either. That was such a good, such a good gem. It was such a good gem, because I would I'll think about our interactions and our arguments and like how we can get better and like what I'm doing and being who I am. And I know a lot of men may relate to this, where we don't know emotions. We didn't start out.
Yeah.
We didn't start out with the word healing in our vocabulary. Like there wasn't healing. There was you get over it. You push
Yes.
it to the side. You keep moving. You do sometimes don't even acknowledge the dang thing. It just
Yeah.
doesn't exist, right? And so to know that healing is the total opposite, and it's acknowledging, and then with acknowledging, now you have to start figuring out exactly what's going on with you. Like you can't acknowledge if you don't know. So
Yeah.
if you're over here feeling shameful, but you don't know because you don't explore your emotions enough and you haven't put a word to it, you don't know that you're feeling shame.
Yes.
You just know that you're feeling uncomfortable and hurt or whatever the case may be. And then
That's
I'm
so
mad at you now because I think you
Yeah.
made me feel like this,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so I got to change my answer now because that was a lot.
It was a
Okay,
lot.
I have to change this. Okay, so remember when we were talking about before relationships, what work you have to do? It's more than acknowledgement that has to happen then. I think that you have to have done the core work first. Because you just brought up a really good point. If you don't know that you need healing, if you don't know what healthy healing looks like in the first place,
Yeah.
you're not in a place where you can even start a partnership with a person. So in that way, I feel like
Well, you're in a place where you can, but you're not in a place where you should. You're not in a place where
Yeah.
you should.
because, okay, and this is a great topic too. What happens when you don't do whatever the necessary amount of healing is before you get into a relationship? How does that, how does
Manifest.
unhealing manifest in a relationship?
So two hurt people, and they're just hurt.
Yeah. Or even not even to hurt people. Like
Maybe just one
imagine
hurt
we
person.
were both in the place that we were and the other person was just like not willing to heal. Like I was in therapy for months before we met, right? And there was a point where you said, I got to go to therapy too.
Right.
Because I want to bring my best self to this relationship and I want the tools to heal and like be healthy. But what would have happened if only one of us
If only one of us did
was
it,
there?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think one side's gonna win, right? I love balance, but a lot of times one side wins out over the other. So either my hard-headedness would have
Yeah.
won out and it either would have destroyed the relationship or we both would have just not done the work that we need to do to make our relationship better and to make it as fortified as it possibly can be. Or it goes the other way, your healing process would have won out, which is what happened.
That's
And
real.
and I would have like did what I did and been like, yo,
Yeah.
you
Or I
can't be
would
the
have
only one
bounced.
doing this. Yeah,
'Cause
right
a lot
or
of
not.
time, ladies, fellas, everybody in between and outside of ladies and fellas, sometimes to heal means to like recognize that the situation is not good for
Yeah.
whatever it is that your soul needs.
Yeah.
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 That's a good point.
Are you present? Are you able to experience life in its fullest and
Yeah.
be the version of yourself that you need to be? If not, you need to go.
That's big.
Are you able to heal?
And I think that if one person is trying to heal while the other is not trying to heal, a whole new version of trauma could also
Yeah.
pop up
Yeah.
from this relationship.
Because a person could weaponize your own healing. A person could use your
Yeah.
healing against you
Yes.
and make you
That's-
feel like you're doing the wrong thing
I love that point. And I think that happens in relationships a lot.
a lot.
I think people get people who aren't in their healing, people who have been avoiding their own healing, I think they can become afraid
You don't wanna-
of
I
what
don't want you
someone
to
else's
outgrow
healing
me.
would look like.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want you to outgrow me. I don't want you to think you're better than me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's that insecurity.
I fully agree. And when you are securing yourself, you can't help but support somebody else's healing, right? Like that's,
Because you know what it feels like.
yeah.
You like,
Yeah.
I want this for you. And I think for me, it actually started with you bringing the knowledge that you gained in therapy into our conversations and interactions.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want more of this.
Yeah.
And you're so far ahead of me in a lot of these things. I need to catch up.
Yeah, you caught up like a motherfucker.
I need to catch up. I was doing therapy like every week for a while there.
Yeah.
But it was like I need to catch up because there are things that you can't teach me, and it's not your responsibility to teach me. And I need to learn like more just emotional awareness. Like it is not for my wife to sit in here and help me figure out what my emotions are when I'm feeling them.
I get it. It's not my sole responsibility.
Yeah, and you would do it.
Yes.
You would do it, but I would
like
much
therapy
rather
sessions.
you put that energy into something else.
Yeah.
And I would much rather come to you as a person that is like, hey, I'm out here learning these things
Yeah.
that
That made a
I need to
difference.
learn to help make us different. Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up that decision that you made of like going to therapy and becoming a healed person or healing person. What was it that you saw in me that made you realize that I was on a healing journey and that we needed to partner in healing together? Like what made that light bulb go off for you?
It was a mirror. It was just the mirror. So it wasn't even like that you're on this healing journey, but you made it so clear. This is what I'm going through and this is the journey that I've been on, and I took all this time to do all this therapy, and then when we talk, I'm able to see myself and see where I'm lacking at in a lot of things, or see where I don't understand what you're saying or where you're coming from, or see just the holes in myself. And like, so I'm looking at you, I'm able to see myself better.
Yeah.
And then I can see like, okay, and for you to, and you big up therapy. Like I feel like the first time we talked, you was like, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I ain't never heard anybody say that. I never heard
Word.
anybody like say that therapy is great, especially not a black person that is really similar to me, and doing their thing in life, and like has similar traumas, is telling me like, yo, therapy was great and it helped me. Like nobody ever said that. So for you to just come out and speak about it, like it was just whatever. Like everybody needs to be doing this actually. And then the more we talked, you brought that into our relationship, and so it softened me in that way. Like it softened me, and it helped me know that it doesn't necessarily have to be something wrong with me to go and do therapy.
I love that
But
so
there are some
much.
things in me that I don't necessarily understand, and I would love to get somebody else to come in and help me do it. Somebody that specializes just in that thing.
Yeah. Well, so what I take from that too, though, is it's not hard to spot a healing person because you see it in action.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like to talk about healing. They like to do like crystals and burn sage and like all of that, but don't really know what healing in action looks like. And I feel like one of the keys to spotting a healing person or knowing if you are a healing person is it's in all of your life. Like there was no way you could have interacted with me without knowing that I'm healing, that I'm in this process. It was in our conversations. It was in our fights. It was in everything. And I feel like that is a really good hint for single people because you will meet people who will tell you that they are healed or healing. Look at the behavior.
Yeah, word. Good too.
Okay.
All right.
Were there any topics that you thought about with healing?
So good. It's so good that we just touched on everything that like I was thinking. I told you I took a ride and I thought about this and I listened to some Esther Perel and just jotted down some thoughts.
Yeah.
And we ended up touching on them naturally. So I think that's a really good thing. It seems like there's like some common threads in the healing process. And we definitely have the same beliefs as far as healing goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something that I want to make sure to emphasize. I don't know if I emphasized it enough, which is what the healing journey looks like. It does not mean that you are not triggered. It doesn't mean that you don't have more work to do, because I feel like when you commit to healing, it's easy to be like hard on yourself. And when you are healing with someone, it's easy to be hard on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think something that I've been working on is like really recognizing that it is a journey, and that you don't just make the decision. The light bulb doesn't just click and then everything is right. The light bulb is your commitment to do better and operate in a healthy way and move forward with whatever acknowledgement of trauma that you've acknowledged.
I think that's huge. I think that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I think to add to what you're saying, because you said this, but to say it again, you got to be nice to yourself. When you get into those moments where you got triggered or you made the wrong move, or you're just in a heightened place of anxiety, or you're in a place of shame, or you're not feeling good, especially in relation to your partner, and you're being challenged to heal in real time. I think one of the places that it starts with is your self-talk and what you're telling yourself in those moments. And I'm so glad that I'm in the relationship that I'm in with the partner that I'm in, and that I'm in therapy too, because it takes both of y'all's voices in my head and different, like there's just different things that ring off.
Yeah.
But I have to use that though, because the voices that were in my head as a person developing and growing up, they weren't good voices, and they weren't empowering voices. They weren't healing voices. And so the natural voices that come into my head when we get in these stressful moments are voices I'm talking bad about myself, or I'm ashamed, myself pops in and says, "Hey, this is happening. It's happening again."
Yeah.
The same thing that happens
story.
all the time. It's the story.
Yeah.
It's the damn story.
Yeah.
It's the damn story. So we have to change the story, and that's hard without any examples or any tools or somebody to go to give you something to say.
Possible.
But it is possible.
And to steal from my therapist again, it's being able to be different for that person. It's another reason why it is really useful to heal with a person. Because you naturally want to live that story over and over. You're confirming this is what always happens to me. This is what life is. And then you meet a person who's willing to heal with you, and they can help you rewrite that story and deprogram yourself from reliving that trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you can get there alone, but I feel like it's different when you can do that with a person. Because
we live life in relation to other people. We're not always alone.
Nothing happens in a vacuum. Nothing. So, yeah. I keep on, like, resisting the urge to extract a gem, but I feel like you should extract the gem. Do you feel like there is one? Do you feel like we just...
There was so many.
Yes.
If I had to extract one gem, though, it is... We should always be healing.
Always be healing.
Always be healing.
I love it.
Things are never going to go our way, not all the time. And even if it's these micro moments that we need to heal from, give yourself the time to do it and heal from it, because just like everything else, it stays. The energy stays. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that you're really, really great at, is if there is something going on in that moment, you'll acknowledge it and let it be known instead of holding it. And any time that you've tried to do that, even if it's in a small situation to a tall one, like it weighs on you, it eats at you, and you're like, all right, because I gotta say this thing.
I gotta get it out.
Yeah, gotta get it out. So the gem is we should always be healing.
Always be healing. I love that so much, and I'm excited because I actually have a song for this episode.
You got a song?
Not
a Jill Scott song?
It's not a Jill Scott song.
Okay.
I think I have proven that Jill Scott is the queen of love, and that she has a song for every situation.
No doubt.
So I'm off that. But the song that I have, I listened to. I had to have listened to this song at least 50 times when we first met. And it's by India Arie, and it's called He Heals Me. And you should know this song.
I do, yeah.
Okay, you do?
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's a beautiful song about just meeting someone who is everything that you need to feel supported in your healing and self-confidence.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
So I tried to think of a song, and it's messed up because I got to go to a song that is my own song, and it's on the Vita album that it's not out yet, so you can't listen to it, but you'll listen to it when it comes out. So Be Kind is what the song's called, and it's just all about reminding yourself to be kind to yourself at the end of the day, because if you're trying to heal, first step is going to be, be nicer to yourself, be kind to yourself, especially in those moments where you're triggered and you got high anxiety and your thoughts are everywhere. Try to just lean to the nice side of things. It's easier said than done.
I'm so glad you said that because it was so hard for me not to mention the song earlier when you said about being kind to yourself. And I love that one because I think that song, my interpretation as a fan, is that song came from like you understanding your own healing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's a great choice.
Straight up.
I can't wait for y'all to hear the song. It's so good. All right, baby. I think we have finished the first episode. I think it was a banger.
Season 2, episode 1 in the
Season
books.
2, episode 1, baby.
All right.
All right, we're going to go do some more healing.
Yeah.
Good luck in your healing. Thank you for listening, y'all.
Peace.